But after thinking about it, we did come up with some memories. Burnett, his sister, remembers walking to school with him when the snowbanks were so high that they could almost touch the wires. And I'm not sure if they were barefoot or not. And Ralph, you can correct me on any of these memories. Burnett also remembers that sometimes when it was very cold, they would get a ride in the milk truck with Uncle August's hired hand.
That's right.
Good job. She also remembers that Ralph's first car that he was able to purchase was the first time she had seen a car with signal lights on it. Maxine, his cousin, remembers going to Banky's school with him. She was a grade ahead of him in school, and she remembers watching him write left-handed with his elbow way up in the air and thinking that he must be writing upside down. She also remembers his favorite teacher, Anna Mae Belden. How do we do that? Your favorite
Well, I had her for 5 years.
Okay. Same grade.
The same grade.
Jeanette, his sister, remembers going to his baseball games at Badger Park and watching him pitch. She even made a scrapbook of his newspaper clippings for her big brother.
I still have that.
He says, I still have that. Jeanette also remembers getting a ride home with Ralph from her job at the bank sometimes before she bought her first car. He was working at the mill at the time. Jeanette also remembers going to his games at Knapp's, watching him pitch, and sometimes if we were really good, we would get a bag of potato chips. Letty, his sister, remembers a big treat when Ralph would bring home ice cream for us when he worked at the mill, because we didn't have a freezer big enough to have ice cream on a regular basis, but once in a while he would treat us. She also remembers him buying us our first TV. Is that true? Not true.
But I had a movie camera, though. I took movies.
He took movies. Like I said,
I don't remember the TV.
our memories are not great. Letty also remembers getting a ride home from Milwaukee with Ralph and Helen when she was working down there. Clarice, his sister-in-law, remembers being in the same grade with Ralph at Peshtigo High School, and she remembers that he was a good athlete and a really nice guy, but she was much more interested in his older brother, Larry, who she married later on. Clarice also remembers him in her bookkeeping class, where all the girls wanted to sit by him because he was good with math and he would help them. Clarice also remembers him staying on the farm that first summer after she and Larry moved there and being very helpful to that city girl's first time on the farm.
That's true.
John, his brother-in-law, remembers golfing with him in Door County, and afterwards he and Lou would go out to dinner with Ralph and Helen to a special restaurant. He also remembers Ralph coming up to Marinette and having lunch with him because he needed to kill time before he could go to the Rhodey Christmas get-together at Patty's. My memories, I only have two from when I was very young about Ralph. I remember Ralph holding me down, kicking and screaming, so that Mother could wash my hair in the sink. Don't know why I was so petrified of that, but I do have that memory. Another memory I have is being in the car, I was crying, and my mother was comforting me because I thought Ralph was getting beat up, but we were really at one of his football games. I remember staying in Fond du Lac 2 summers to help Helen because a new baby had come.
That was very helpful.
Thank you. I didn't know Ralph very well growing up because of the age span, but I really got to know him in later years as we spent many hours together in Door County, sitting on the porch of Louisville talking. And as you can see, all of our memories are different, but you can see that he had a wonderful impact on all of our lives. Thank you.
Our farm has been in the family starting about 1885. Somebody sent me a document from the ship. My dad's dad came over on the boat from Germany in November of 1878. There were his mother and dad and 9 children. And shortly thereafter, about 10 years after, and I don't know if he homesteaded or he bought the farm. The farm is still in the Rhodey family. Actually, my dad, just wait with that, please. My dad helped his mother with the farm when my grandfather died. Dad was only 18, and then he eventually bought the farm, got married and bought the farm, and then in 1954, Clarice, 55, Larry and Clarice bought the farm. They farmed there, and Larry was on the farm until he passed away 5 years ago. 2 of their boys, Joel is here, and his brother Rob are running the farm now, and Joel and Laura's youngest son is interested in farming, so that should be the 5th generation on the farm. 125 years so within the family, so I think that's pretty amazing. The farmhouse, you mentioned earlier, I was born there. There were 8 of us that were, actually the 2 youngest ones were born in the hospital, but the first 6 were born in the farm. There was a doctor, present I believe. I don't know how he got word to him because the closest telephone was like 2.5 to 3 miles away at the church parsonage. So I don't know, mother must have gone in labor, dad went in the car, went to the telephone, got the doctor to come out. So anyway, and after we got older, there were 2 bedrooms upstairs. The boys were on one side and the girls were on the other. Actually, there's a silver colored building right behind that to the left. It's a little red building. That was our outhouse. We didn't have indoor plumbing until after W2, the big one. Okay, let me show the next slide, please. Now that's the current farm. As you can see how they expanded while Larry was still alive. Many of the buildings were put up, and the boys have continued to expand. And now when I was growing up, we had 26 milk cows. Now they're usually milking in the neighborhood of 180. Usually have around 300 head. Way in the lower right-hand corner, that is not a swimming pool. That's a manure pit. You don't want to go there. The boys do an outstanding job of farming. They have milk part, they milk 20 cows at a time. Grade A milk picked up daily. Is the milk used for cheese or milk? Cheese, okay. Okay, next slide, please. That's my mother and dad. We said Dad had the first afro. Look at that hairline. It's about an inch and a half above his ears. Anyway, that was kind of neat. Next slide. This was a short while before they passed away. Before Dad passed away, he passed away in 95 and 75. Mother in 1980. Dad, I think the picture was taken when Dad was probably quite ill. Next, please. I think that's the first picture. I'm on the right. My brother Cliff's on the left and Larry in the middle. I think that's the first picture I have. If pictures were taken, they weren't retained. I don't think the pictures were probably taken. But anyway, we're by the hen house. Next picture. There's a couple of hillbillies from Kentucky. The little punchy one, that's me. The sun must have been bright. Cliff has his eyes closed. Larry's shielding his eyes, and I'm happy as go lucky. Must have been almost time for lunch. Next, please. Here's another one that, Burnett got added to this one. So just like a ladder, up steps. Next. Look at that. Ready for church. I'm surprised I don't have that hat anymore because I don't get more stuff. But that was one thing growing up, Sunday was always going to church. We very, very seldom missed church. Those days, Sunday, we went to Sunday school. You get a pin for perfect attendance, and it just kept on adding numbers. We'd all have 6, 7 in as far as perfect attendance as we went along. Nice feather in the hat. Next. Okay, this is the Benke School that was mentioned earlier. One-room school. Our teacher's name was Ruth Maloney. She was a real tomboy. She could actually out-kick football, boys and stuff. I'm sitting there in the right-hand corner. You know, they talk a lot about education, but this one-room school, there were anywhere from 26, 27 students to 32, 33 with one teacher. Our grade, I was in the 7th grade at the time. There were 5 of us. We had one of the bigger grades. But from that school, my brother graduated from that high school or grade school. He went on. He became a principal at junior high school in Fond du Lac. My brother Larry took over the farm. He was outstanding young farmer for Marinette County. Actually, my cousin Maxine is here today. She's way in the right-hand corner. She was a teacher. She taught all over the world, military bases. Another cousin's on that picture. He got a law degree. He was an attorney in Arizona. Another kid that's sitting just in front of him. I'm there right in front of his Burnett. Right in front of Burnett is a kid. He became part of the Army band. He got out of the military. He got a law degree and became a county judge. Actually, my cousin isn't on there either. Maxine's brother. He got a PhD from Madison. He was a professor at Michigan State for 35 years, department head. You know, you wonder about education. This is a one-room country school, and these people were successful. Next, please. Oh, there's my pride and joy. I remember getting that bike. I was begging for a bike, and Dad said, milk had to get to a certain price per 100. I forget what it was. When it hit that price, I could get my bike. We didn't have training wheels. We didn't have tricycles. You had one bike that was your lifetime bike. Next. This is 7 of us. Betty, oops, I don't know. Can you hear this? I don't know. Back and forth. Okay. Betty wasn't in the picture yet. Cliff, my oldest one, I think this was when he had his 8th grade graduation picture taken. And shortly thereafter, he was in a car accident. He was in a hospital for over 2 months. While he was in a hospital, my mother went to the hospital, and Betty Ann was born in the hospital while Cliff was there. She was on one floor and he was on another. It was pretty unusual for us all to be dressed up so nicely. Next, please. Oh, high school graduation. Next. That's my high school graduation picture. With a new Oliver tractor. Next. Oh, and wedding picture. Actually, I want to talk a little bit about how Helen and I met. I went to Spencerian, as was mentioned earlier, and was very active there in Gamma Delta, which was the Association of Lutheran Students. And we had a convention at Oshkosh at the Hotel Ralph, and kids were moving around back and forth, and I talked to Helen briefly, and my roommate talked to her more, and we got back to Milwaukee, and he says, he was dating someone else, he says, that Helen seems pretty nice. He says, why don't you ask her out? So her name was Eli, which is not a real common name. It's a Finnish name. So we kind of tried to figure out what her name was, and anyway, I called them, the dormitory, she was a student nurse, I called and asked for Helen Eline. Now, Eline was one of the wealthiest families in Milwaukee. And back in those days, in the dorm, there'd be 1 or 2 telephones per floor, and the telephone would ring in the hallway, and who would ever answer, and well, anyway, I knew I had dated somebody else there before, so I knew the telephone, so I called the nursing home, asked for Helen Eline. She wasn't even on the same floor, so anyway, this girl was able to retrieve her, and she came to the phone, and we went out, so I think the Lord had in mind for us to get together. Anyway, it's a funny picture. We look kind of happy. Next, please. Oh, that's Paul, the first one. A year after we were there. Next. Oh, 2 of them. Paul and Ann. Next. 3 of them. That was at John's baptism. Okay. A couple years later at our house in Fond du Lac, the light up. So. Next, please. There's our house in Fond du Lac, the first house we bought. Well, I was going to say too, that's kind of interesting. We moved to Fond du Lac in March of 1962, and we bought our house and moved it October 1st, and Ann was a couple months old, and my brother said, "Oh, new house, new baby." We all laughed, and well, John was born 11 months after Ann was. So Helen was really, really busy. Okay, that was the first house to go to. This is on our trip out to Washington. Ann mentioned earlier in 1970. We had a station wagon. We all fit in the station wagon without air conditioning. I remember getting to Mitchell, South Dakota, about midnight. It was still 95 degrees outside. The wind was on. Okay, next. This was kind of interesting. We used to go up, Helen's folks are split, and her dad continued to live in Ironwood. And we went up there on Labor Day, and I meant Memorial Day. And this was taken on Memorial Day. It was warm in town. We were going to go out to Lake Superior, which is about 15 miles from where her dad lived. And we were going to have a picnic while we got there. It was like 80 degrees in town. There was still Lake Superior, was still full of ice. So rather than a picnic, the kids were throwing rocks, trying to crack ice. Okay, next. This is 1976, and a trip out west again. Next. Somebody told me once, never trust a man with white shoes. Polyester pants, I imagine, I don't know. So, next. Actually, Helen's mother worked for a wealthy family, and they had property, a nice home on Green Lake, and we went to visit her, and they had the big, I don't know what, that's a totem pole right in the background, but anyway, we were visiting there, and this picture was taken. So, nice looking family. Next. This was at our house here in Appleton. We usually had evening devotions. Next. The lineup. Next. 1980, Ellen and I took our first trip out alone. It was kind of memorable. Didn't have to stop strictly at drive-ins with the kids and stuff. So we went out west. We went to the Grand Canyon. We were at Flagstaff overnight, and there was about 3 or 4 inches of snow in Flagstaff. And I stopped at the gas station. I said about driving out to the Grand Canyon, and he said, "Oh, that's no problem, no switchback." So we drove out. It was snowing. I said, "Oh my goodness," we get out there, and the visibility was maybe 2 city blocks. I thought, here we come, all this way. And anyway, we stopped and got a hotel room and had something to eat. And by that time, the snow had stopped. And we went to a lookout point. And while we were there, maybe 5-10 minutes, the clouds parted and the sun came out. And I always said if anybody ever asked me what's the most beautiful sight I've ever seen, it was that time. The timing was just right. It was fresh snow and the beautiful canyon with the bright sun. Next. This is an interesting picture. We were down in Madison visiting the Capitol, and we went inside and we asked something about Governor Schreiber. He was the acting governor, and then he said he's out today or something to that effect. So anyway, we came out and I went to get the car. And while they were waiting for me to pick him up, Governor Schreiber comes out with his driver, whatever, bodyguard, and Helen says, "May I take your picture?" He says, "Better yet." He says, "Why don't you, my driver, take your picture with your family?" So anyway, they had his picture taken, and it was really funny. These are, prints, so Helen got the pictures developed. I came home. I took the envelopes, the pictures. I went and I had to go to the bathroom, so I went and sat in the bathroom, looked at the pictures. She was kind of anxious to see my expression when she saw the picture, but she never did see my expression. That was pretty neat, though. Anyways, next, please. I want to show this picture. We did a lot of camping up in North County. Boy, that was the night before. Used to be kind of stressful sometimes trying to fit everything in the car. I remember this is a '78 Ford. I packed it up with stuff for 4 kids and 2 adults, whatever. I backed out of the driveway. I had mud flaps on. The mud flaps were dragging, so I had to take the mud flaps off to drive up there. So after that, I put air shocks on them, so every time we went camping, pumped up the tires or elevated the car with air shocks. Next, I was like that picture in the Door County home. It's nice. Next, this is kind of interesting. We got those Peugeot bikes. We like to do bike riding and stuff, and we were going down to New Glarus, and there's a nice trail there from New Glarus. It goes south to Monroe. We stopped at a restaurant just before we got to New Glarus, and I just touched the back of the tire to see if it still had air in it. Well, the tire was flat. I put the tire right above the exhaust pipe. Kind of not too smart. Anyway, so we had to backtrack to Madison, find the bike shop, get the tire fixed, and we went on our way. Next. Ann always liked to shovel snow, so that's our house here in Fond du Lac. We moved here 38 years ago and I still live in the same house. Next. This is at our 25th anniversary. We had an open house at our home. Next. We got into cross-country skiing. That would really prove to be a lot of fun. Helen kind of pushed for that, and I'm really glad we ended up doing that because we had a lot of great times. Next. This is up at near Cottage Street at the Herring's Cottage. Next. This is at Fort Leonard Wood. John finished his training. What were you?
Went through Army basic training and then joined ROTC and got commissioned
while he was at Platteville.
while I was in college.
He ended up being a second Louis, huh?
Lieutenant in the National Guard, yeah.
Okay. He was in kind of maintenance or whatever. Or
I was in charge of the maintenance platoon.
oh, okay. So you were pretty skinny at that time, weren't you? You're in good shape. After bivouac, I remember you got poison ivy. That was really you were on bivouac. You ended up with poison ivy. That was no fun. Next, please. This was taken our high school reunion. We got the button with my high school picture on, and I always liked that picture. Myself and my brother Larry, he was kind of one of my heroes. Next. This is, nice glasses, Bill. This is in writing in London. Actually, Bill went to Valparaiso University, and they had a satellite campus at Cambridge in England. And Helen and I went over. We spent a week in Germany and Switzerland, and then we drove, took the boat across the English Channel, took the train to London. We spent a couple of days there. Then we went to Cambridge, where Bill was. Spent a couple of days with him, and we rented a car. That was very, very interesting, driving in England. We went, after we got the car, we drove north. We stopped at St. Andrews, home of golf. I could see the golf course from a distance. Actually, there was a tournament going on. I could see Greg Norman playing, but we did not get on the grounds. And we continued on, and our company had a plant at Arbroath, Scotland, which was Northford yet. So we went up there and spent some time at the plant and continued on. But driving over in England is a challenge. That's where first exposure to roundabouts. There I think you go backward and forget it. Next. This is a picture that was taken of our family and Mother and Dad's 40th wedding anniversary. Jeanette, nice hairdo. Anyway, we continued that. Their anniversary was in June. Every June we got together, normally in Green Bay for dinner. Next. This is a few years later, same, without Mother and Dad. Mother and Dad were gone. We had the family picture in the background. That was kind of a traveling trophy. Next. Oh, this is my plaque I received for 25 years of service at Giddings and Willis. Sometimes they used to ask, well, how many people worked there? And then the normal answer was about half. You know. Next, please. These are our graduation pictures from Bill when he graduated from Valparaiso University in Valparaiso, Indiana. Next. This is Paul when he got his PhD at the University of Oregon. Next. This is Paul with his mother at, I think, at Ann and Peter's wedding. Next. Actually, this picture kind of goes with the other one. The whole family went out. We flew to San Francisco and spent some time there. Went to Alcatraz, which was really interesting. Then we rented a car, drove up the coast to Eugene, Oregon, where Paul was when he got his PhD. Senator Mark Hatfield, some of the older people might remember him. He was a keynote speaker that day. John, you have a nice hairdo too. Next. Oh, while we were out there, I had a chance. I think it looks a little bit like Ronald Reagan, doesn't it? Next. This was at John and Stephanie's wedding. Hasn't changed, yes. This is they got married in the Madison area at, was it the Middleton Church?
Milton Baptist.
No. They lived in Iowa for a while after that. Next. This was with our Peugeot bikes. We used to do quite a bit of biking. We'd go up to Eagle River or Door County. This one was, we normally, when we were in Door County, we camped at Peninsula Park, and normally one day we would bike across the peninsula to the Bailey's Harbor area and have lunch and bike back. It was usually 30 miles. A couple times we even biked from Peninsula Park up to the wagon trail. I always get confused, wagon trail. I guess the campground anyway, where the restaurant is. Next. One of my last days at the office. Looked impressive. Next. Oh, wedding band. They look happy. Special day. Okay, next. This is Helen and myself with Wayne and Nancy Radke, good friends of ours. We did a lot of things together. We spent a lot of time at their cottage up at Eagle River, skiing, golfing, biking. Actually, they're down in Florida now. They both have some serious health conditions. I'll be seeing them in like a week or so after I leave here on Monday to fly down there. Next, the Rody family. This is John and Stephanie were living in Iowa at the time. I think the time was a little mixed up. I think this is just before Ann and Peter's wedding. Next. This was Helen and myself in front of our favorite restaurant in all the world, the White Gull Inn in Door County, Fish Creek. And we just love going there for breakfast. Next, Bill and Leo were down in New Orleans for a while. This is at Preservation Hall. I don't know if you guys have been to New Orleans or not, but Preservation Hall is where jazz originated. And this was taken in a daytime. We went back there in the evening. It's in the French Quarter. Man, what a surprise. You come in, it's a room for about 50 people. It's dark, dirty, just windows are full of smoke and stuff. It was just, couldn't believe it. You got about 4 or 5 80-year-old guys, black guys, strumming away to a jazz, but that was where jazz started. Next. Oh, I left Helen behind. Marilyn had trouble with her skirt. That was in Orlando, someplace in Orlando. Next. Family gathering. Let's see. Well, this is Bill and Leah's wedding. Yeah, this was down in, was that Indiana or Lower Michigan?
Michigan.
Just in the, across the border.
Union Pier, Michigan.
Union Pier, Michigan. Nice looking family. Next. 97, we actually took a trip to Alaska with 2 other couple, and that was really neat. This is, we had partly on the land, and this is part of the sea. This is in Glacier Bay, and I really enjoyed this picture, the color of it, and the contrast, and Helen's hat and my hat. So this is actually, we really didn't know it at the time, but this is the point where Helen was starting to get sick. Next. This is the fall of '98. Helen was diagnosed in December of '97. She had a surgery and a chemo, and she had another surgery in Madison, and she was just, this was like in October, after she had finished the chemo, and we got a call from John and Stephanie that they had gotten tickets for Neil Diamond concert. We really like Neil Diamond, and a big surprise, a knock on the door, and they said, there's a limo here for you. So we went and stopped downtown to Bradley Center in style. It was kind of surprising though. The limo picked us up, took us and dropped us off. We had to get back in line like the rest of the people. Somebody said that's not fair. You come here at 11, you have to get in line with everybody else. Next. Family gathering. Next. This was, we got carried away picking strawberries. We picked about 40-some pounds, and we were scouring the neighborhood for containers to put them in. So, but I continued that after Helen passed away. I normally made strawberry jam, and I think some of you here have been recipients of the jam. And well, this last year I wasn't able to do it, but it's one of the few things I can do in the kitchen. Thank you. Next. This is kind of interesting. One night I was, some of these guys here playing cards. I came home, cupboard doors were off. And we had redecorated the kitchen with the Helen like blue and white. And anyway, I kind of like it, so the cupboard doors are still off. She had talked about it, but I didn't think she was serious. That was probably just before she found out that her cancer came back and was terminal. Next. This is like the 4th of July weekend. You know, Helen's cancer was terminal, and we got together. We wanted to take some pictures. Actually, this is the picture I had on the handout at her funeral. The next. And also this picture, I thought this is such a happy picture. The kids just look so great. Julie, you look like you're ready to take off. It was nice.
Sam, look at that smile.
Next. And this is maybe about 2 months before Helen passed. Helen always had to have tea parties with the grandkids. So this is probably the last tea party we had, John and I, with Jenna and Sam. Helen was just able to be an observer. Next. Then in the fall, that fall too, it was our 40th anniversary, and be known to us, the kids have sent out this memo, and a lot of you people here have responded, asking if you wanted to write or say something or whatever, and a number of people responded, and they put this together in a book form. Next. And at the same time, there was a marathon, and Bill ran the marathon in honor of his mother. And she did not know that, so we were out in the track, and Bill came around the corner with his shirt on. And there's a cheering section up in the right-hand corner. Next. This was at the same time. That was pretty much the first time that Helen was in a wheelchair. Next. The Rhodey kids again. Next. And after, well, I would say a few things. Now Helen had passed away in November of '99, and well, but, you know, life has to go on. It wasn't the easiest, but I tried to put the best foot forward, and I was really thankful for the years we had together. We just made 40 years in a month. And I think one of the neatest things was at the funeral, or at the visitation, one person says, Helen wasn't only beautiful on the outside, she was beautiful on the inside too, which was really described her, I think. And after I did quite a bit of traveling, after I was alone, I went to several elder hostels. This is one of the elder hostels when I was in this is at Bryce Canyon in southern Utah. Next. This was on that same trip, a float trip on the Colorado River. Actually, if we would have continued on, we would have come into the Grand Canyon, but that boat did not, that was not part of the trip. Next. Oh, that's up in Door County in the batting cage. It looks like I missed the ball. That's not unusual. Next. This is at the headstone in Memorial Park where Helen's buried. I put a scripture verse on the bottom, and the cross and the stone. I figured if people are looking walking around or something, I wanted them to know that we were Christian. I had, on the headstone, we have redemption through his blood from Ephesians 1:7. I wanted something on the headstone to indicate that Christ's suffering and blood was necessary for our redemption. Next. This is pretty neat. This is my oldest brother Cliff, who was principal at Tyson Junior High School in Fond du Lac. A couple of years after he retired, they named a football field after him. And that's Cliff and his wife Mary and their 6 children. And that's Chris on the way on the right, and Beth is the second from the left. And they're here today. And poor Mike with 5 sisters. He had it tough with 5 sisters. So. Next. Oops. Shortly after I was alone, they asked me to be part of the church pageant. I don't know for sure. I was a king or something like that. A judge or something. Next. This is the streets of Bethlehem, where I was a carpenter, and I was trying to make a 3-legged stool. That's I'm only holding one leg. Looks like I'm turning butter or something. Next. There's Jenna and myself at Al Johnson's in Door County. I tried to do things individually with the grandkids, so make it special. And Jen and I had a date while we were up there. We went to Door County. She was not drinking coffee, though, was she? No. Next. Another thing we did at Door County, we've been doing this for a number of years. We go on Father's Day weekend. Stephanie's dad, Jerry, and John and I would go golfing. Now Sam joins us too at Peninsula Park. We really enjoy that. And this is at
PC Junction.
PC Junction, yeah, where they bring out the food on the train, and it's kind of a unique, little different restaurant. Next. This must be, it looks like turkey on the counter. I don't know. It's at my house anyway. Next. This is a trip I took to South Africa. It's kind of interesting. There were 13 of us on this trip to South Africa, 4 couple and 5 single men. I'd done traveling most of the time. I'm the only single male. But on this trip there were 4 other widowers and 1 divorced guy. And this is the southern tip of South Africa. Next. That's pretty much a photo op, because you got to be under 120 pounds to ride the ostrich. I probably had a platform there for my legs. Next. This is kind of interesting. We would stop, and I had crayons along or markers or something I would give the kids. And I'm saying here, I don't have any more. That little guy in the back there with the white shirt on, he didn't have any bottoms on. You could see his private parts. Next. There I am going on a safari. It was kind of interesting. We saw quite a few wild animals. We got up one early morning, we saw one lion in a distance kind of getting up. And we had one evening safari, which was really turned out well. I thought some of it was almost like the animals were placed there, but then we came around the bend, we saw a mother lion, and you could see that she was a mother that she was nursing, and she kind of slowly followed her, came to a riverbank, and all at once there were, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 little ones that came out and started nursing. So that was pretty neat. Next. Oh, bowling. After I retired, I started this league for retirees. We bowl in the wintertime and golf in the summertime. Nice form. Next. Oh, next. With the grandkids, actually, Emily, you're pretty young yet. that's happening there on my left. Next. I always like this picture, that's Julie and I with one noodle. I don't know where it ended, Julia, but.
Right about there.
Next. This is up in Door County, waiting for the 4th of July parade. That's Emily on my shoulders. Yep, next. That's one of the Father's Day weekends. We normally, a couple things that men would go golfing, and we'd have miniature golfing, and then also go to the PC Junction restaurant. We usually did camping some years, we stayed in condos. Next. That's, I don't know what that is. Kid at Art, yeah, okay. Next, oh yeah. If I had grandkids a few years ago. I think, what did you put on that, John? I can't see. But anyways, next. Yeah, John did all those pictures. I sent them to him, and he scanned them in, and he put the notations on the bottom. Next. One of the things they talk about volunteering, I volunteered until this year as a tutor, Highland School right across from where I live. First we had first grade reading students. We'd have a half hour with them, and this was for the first year. These were 2 students that I had, and this guy was really neat. He was it was just that English was new to him, and I had him as a first grader, and then the next year we sat in the hallway, and I was sitting there with a different student, and his name was Tio or something like that. I really couldn't say it, but I saw him coming about 10 feet away, and he broke out in a big smile. I put my hand up, he gave me a high five, and that kind of made my day. For the rest of the school year, that was kind of our little recognition thing. Next. Another picture of Grandpa with the kids. Next. That's visiting Paul out in his backyard out in Oregon. Next. This is my trip to the Holy Land. This is really special. We had, that's the Eastern Wall. The gold is the Dome of the Rock, which is Muslim. Anyway, we had a devotion to just up the hill here from Mount of Olives Garden, Gethsemane. We came walking down, and here's a guy with the camel. So I was the first in line, and I don't know, sometimes they charge you $2 or $3 to get on and $2 to get off. But anyway, we had the photo op, and it was, I really like this, because actually this is the path where Christ walked on Palm Sunday. And there's a lot of things in the Holy Land that are, you don't know if they're true or not, but that is authentic. That is the road down the hill. Next. And then at the west wall, the Wailing Wall, actually you can put prayer requests in the cracks. You can see them. I don't know if they clean them out eventually, or the weather takes care of them, or the birds maybe use them for nesting there. But eventually removed. Next. This is in the Dead Sea. My experience at the Dead Sea was a little